Hi, today's lesson will be answering the question, what do the digits and letters mean when I read the Minnesota Science Standards? Hi, I am Chantel Belling. I am the Science Curriculum Coordinator for Robbinsdale Area Schools. I have provided my email address. If you would like to contact me at any time throughout the school year, please feel free. I would be happy to help you with anything that you need. First of all, the organization of the standards and benchmarks. We're going to talk about the digits, the letters, and how the standards and benchmarks are organized. Our learning target today is to understand how to read the 5-digit standard or benchmark codes and to determine the connected ideas in the framework. We will walk through the information together through this video, then you will practice on your own, and you will be also completing a mastery check. You will need to score 8 out of 10 or higher to demonstrate proficiency and mastery of the content. An academic standard is a summary description of a student learning in a required content area. And like I mentioned, we'll be focusing on science today. There are 13 standards that establish the overall goals from kindergarten through grade 12. They are based on the science and engineering practices of the framework. There are 4 strands and 8 substrands within each standard. Each substrand is one of the science and engineering practices of the framework and has 1 or 2 standards. I have included a link here that will bring you to the page where you could order and preview the book. There's also an image here that you can see. This is the resource for the information that I am providing today. When there are 2 standards, the first standard represents the science aspect of the practice. The second standard represents an engineering aspect of the practice. Again, our learning target is to understand how to read the 5-digit standard or benchmark codes and to determine the connected ideas in the framework. Each benchmark has a 5-digit code. Strands, substrands, and standards use relevant portions of that code. These are our vocabulary words that you will be checking for understanding later in the lesson. Here's an example. I pulled a benchmark from our standards, and what I would like to do is just quickly show you the highlighted portion of the digital code. 5L is at the front. 5L stands for grade 5, and the L stands for life science. The second portion of the digital code is 1.2. The 1 stands for strand, and the 2 stands for the substrand. The third portion of the digital code is, in our example, is 1.3. The 1 will stand for the standard, and the 3 represents the benchmark. The benchmark statement is in plain text. 1 asterisk indicates an engineering-related benchmark or standard. 2 asterisks indicate a computer science-related benchmark. The benchmark is followed by a reference to the corresponding ideas in the framework. The framework has 3 dimensions. P stands for practice, CC stands for cross-cutting concept, and CI stands for the core idea. Within each of those 3 dimensions, you will notice some information that will also be included. So P for practice, there are, as you can see, the first 4 parts of practice: asking questions, developing and using models, planning and carrying out investigations, analyzing and interpreting data, and then 5 through 8, using math and computational thinking, constructing explanations, engaging in an argument from evidence, and the last one, obtaining, evaluating, and communicating information. The second dimension is cross-cutting concept. Patterns, we have cause and effect, we have scale, proportion, and quantity, systems and system models, energy and matter, structure and function, stability and change. As we work through the standards, learning how to read them, understand them, and eventually we will learn how to connect them to our current and new science curriculum. The third dimension, CI, stands for core idea. We do have 4 different science topics that are included in the core idea. Physical science, PS1, matter and its interactions, PS, again standing for physical science, PS2, motion and stability, PS3 is energy, PS4 is waves and their applications. For the life science portion of the core idea, we have LS1, Life Science 1, from molecules to organisms, LS2, Ecosystems, LS3, Heredity, and LS4 will be biology topics. The third Earth and Space Sciences category, we have ESS, standing for Earth and Space Sciences. These are the types of questions I will ask you on the mastery check at the end. Number 1, Earth's place in the universe, and 2, Earth's systems. And then ESS 3, Earth and human activity. And the last category, engineering technology and the applications of science. So ETS will be the abbreviation for engineering, technology, and the applications of science. We have number 1, engineering design, and number 2, links among engineering, technology, science, and society. So throughout the slides that I just covered, I have just provided a visual so that you can see another example of how these would be used. So practice number 3 is planning and carrying out investigations. And as we go further, you will learn and you will identify and see all of this information written within the benchmarks. CC again stands for cross-cutting concept, and 5 stands for energy and matter. And then the core idea, life science. So CI stands for core idea and LS stands for life science. Number 1 is from molecules to organisms. Now I'm going to walk through some practice problems. Questions will be asked, and they are based on the slides that I just covered. So my first question for you, as you look at this benchmark, 2E2112, my question is, what grade and content area is this benchmark referring to? So I'll go ahead to the next slide. So I have highlighted the part that I'm currently asking the question on. So I want you to think about it. If it helps, write it down or use a document online to write down your answers. So what does the 2 stand for? The answer is grade 2, and the E stands for the Earth and Space Science. My second question, as part of the benchmark, is the middle portion of the code. 2.1. What do the second and third numbers represent? So the question is, what does the 2 represent and what does the 1 represent? So take a moment and think about it. Possibly you could write it down for practice. And I will go through the answer here in a second. So what does the 2 stand for and what does the 1 stand for? Okay, the answer is the 2 represents the strand and the 1 represents the substrand. And my third question, when looking at the benchmark, I'm wondering, what do the 4th and the 5th numbers represent? So we're looking at and focusing on 1.2 at this time. So go ahead and take a moment and think about it. Remember that I covered all of this information in the previous slides. I did go through them quickly, so you may need to look back. The answer is the 1 represents the standard and the 2 represents the benchmark. And the final portion of the practice is when you're looking at a benchmark and you either have it on paper or online, you're going to notice in that final column on the it's like a diagram. On the final side under the benchmark, you will notice that you'll see in parentheses a bunch of letters and numbers. So to start with, I'm going to ask you, what does the P4 stand for in slides 15? You can go back and look at slides 15 and 16 if you need to. And the P4, so think about that. What would the P stand for? I covered this. And what would the 4 stand for? The answer is P is for practice and 4 is for analyzing and interpreting data. Next, we have CC2. What does CC2 stand for? So again, take a moment to think about it. Perhaps you could write it down if that helps. So we're focusing on CC2. The answer is CC stands for cross-cutting concept, and the number 2 stands for cause and effect, mechanism and explanation. Okay, now we're focusing on CI ESS3. So this is in the middle. I have it highlighted there so you can see what we're focusing on. Question is, what does it stand for? And you could refer back to slides 15 and 20 if you needed to look back to guide you. Go ahead, think about it, write it down. Remember, CI is one of the 3 dimensions. Okay, the answer for CI is core idea, and then ESS stands for Earth and Space Sciences. The 3 is for Earth and Human Activity. And our final question, what does ETS1 stand for? So again, you can look back if you need to, slide 21, or you can try to remember on your own, perhaps writing it down or thinking about it before I show the answer. So we're focusing on ETS1. The answer is ETS stands for Engineering Technology and the Applications of Science, and the number 1 is standing for Engineering Design. Now I'm going to ask that you take a few moments to complete the mastery check. There is one correct answer for each response. You will need to score 8 out of 10 or higher to have mastered the content. If you score 7 or lower, please rewatch the video and complete the form a second time. The link to the Google form has been provided on the bottom right-hand side of my screen. You will be required to provide your name, the school that you are currently working at, and then you will be answering 10 questions. Good luck. Thank you very much. Good luck with your mastery check. I will be reaching out to you if I notice that you've taken it a few times and you need some extra assistance or guidance. I will reach out to you. And again, you can contact me at Chantel_Belling@ardale.org. Thank you for your time.